I opened his drawer one evening, looking for nothing more than a pair of scissors. What I found instead stopped me cold. A folded note tucked beneath his shirts, a lipstick stain along the corner, and a faint smell of perfume I had never worn. My hands trembled, my breath caught in my chest. For years I had believed his words, his promises, his love. We had built a life together, or so I thought. That night, in that small, ordinary act of opening a drawer, I saw the first crack in everything I thought was real. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I studied him, the way he came home later than usual, the way he avoided my eyes when I asked about work, the new shirt he wore, freshly pressed, smelling faintly of that same perfume. He spoke to me differently too. Shorter answers, less laughter. He no longer reached for my hand at the table. Something had shifted, and that drawer had given me proof. At night, I lay awake beside him, listening to the rhythm of his breathing, wondering if he was dreaming of someone else. My mind circled the same question. Who was she? I wasn't ready to know the answer, not yet, but the truth was already in motion, waiting for me to catch it. It started with excuses. He was working late, he said. New projects at the office, deadlines that kept him out past midnight. At first I believed him. Why wouldn't I? He had never given me reason to doubt, but soon the lies grew obvious. He'd leave in a pressed shirt, but return with his tie loosened, hair disheveled, and a faint lipstick mark he didn't notice near his collar. His phone buzzed more than before, and he guarded it like a weapon. I tested him once. I called the office at 9 p.m. The receptionist told me he had left hours earlier. My stomach dropped. I thanked her, hung up, and sat in the dark until I heard his key turn in the door. He walked in smiling faintly, carrying a bag of food he claimed was from the late meeting. I stared at him, wondering if he could see the truth burning behind my eyes. He didn't, or maybe he didn't care. That night I smelled the perfume again, stronger this time, sweeter. Not mine, never mine. I didn't confront him, not yet. I wanted more than suspicion. I wanted certainty. And certainty was coming. Faster than I was ready for. The decision wasn't sudden. It had been building inside me for weeks. Every unanswered question, every late-night excuse, every faint trace of perfume he carried home, all of it pushed me closer. I told myself I needed proof. Real proof. The kind that couldn't be explained away with a smile and a lie. One Friday evening he dressed too carefully. A crisp white shirt, a tie I hadn't seen in years, shoes polished until they caught the light. He said he was going to another late meeting. I nodded, but inside something snapped. As soon as the door closed behind him, I grabbed my coat. My hands shook as I fumbled with the keys. I waited a few minutes, then stepped out into the night, following the direction I knew he would take. The city streets were alive with lights and noise. I kept my distance, careful not to get too close. My heart pounded so loudly, I thought someone might hear it. Every step felt heavier than the last, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. He walked with purpose, faster than usual, not the slow, tired shuffle of a man heading home from work. He turned left away from the office buildings into a part of town filled with restaurants and hotels. I followed, my chest tightening with every block. Finally, he stopped. A small, dimly lit restaurant. I hid across the street, pressing myself against a wall, watching through the window. He didn't sit alone. She was already there. Younger, well-dressed, her hair perfect, her smile wide. When he saw her, he lit up in a way I hadn't seen in years. He leaned across the table, touched her hand, whispered something that made her laugh. That laugh pierced me deeper than any slap ever could. It was the sound of my life unraveling. I wanted to storm in, to scream, to demand answers, but I couldn't move. My legs felt like stone. Instead, I stood there, frozen, watching them share food, share touches, share pieces of him that used to belong to me. At one point, she reached across the table and wiped something from his cheek. He smiled, leaned into her touch. I turned away, my stomach twisting, my throat tight. I didn't confront him that night. I let him have his dinner, his secret, his lie. But as I walked home alone, one thought burned in my mind. I had seen enough. The truth was no longer hidden in drawers or faint perfumes. The truth had a face, a laugh, a hand resting in his. And I knew this was only the beginning of what I was about to uncover. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the clock. Every tick echoed in my head like a warning. He had come home late again long after I'd returned from following him. His excuse was the same. Work ran late. He kissed me on the cheek as if nothing was wrong, then stumbled into bed. But I had seen too much. The lies no longer worked. The mask was already broken. When he woke up, I was still sitting there, waiting. My coffee was cold. My eyes were fixed on him as he shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing his neck. "Why are you staring at me like that?" he asked, voice flat. I didn't answer right away. I wanted to see if guilt would appear on his face. It didn't. He looked at me the way a liar looks at someone they think is blind. Finally, I spoke. "Who is she?" His body froze for half a second, barely noticeable, but I saw it. His eyes flicked away, then back. "What are you talking about?" he muttered too quickly. I repeated the question, louder this time. "Who is she?" He laughed. A hollow, defensive laugh. "You're imagining things. You've always been too suspicious." I leaned forward. My voice didn't shake. "I saw you. Last night. The restaurant. Her hand in yours. The color drained from his face." He set down his coffee cup too hard, spilling some on the table. Silence stretched between us. Finally, he whispered, "You followed me?" "Yes," I said. My chest was tight, but my voice was steady. "And now you tell me the truth." His jaw clenched. He paced the kitchen, running a hand through his hair. For the first time, he looked cornered, not angry, not yet, just trapped. "Her name doesn't matter," he said, finally, his voice low. "It doesn't change anything." "It changes everything," I snapped. The words cut through the air like glass breaking. For a moment, I thought he might yell, maybe even hit the wall like he sometimes did when angry. Instead, he just stared at me, breathing heavy, his fists tightening and loosening at his sides. "You don't understand," he said finally, his tone desperate now. "I still love you, but..." He stopped himself. That "but" hung in the air like a blade. I felt my stomach twist. There it was, the truth he had been hiding, pressed between excuses and late nights. He wanted both, me at home, her in secret. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor, the sound harsh, final. "No, you don't get to break me in two and still call it love." His mouth opened as if to argue, but no words came. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me anymore. Maybe he didn't. Because at that moment, I wasn't the same woman who had waited, silent for answers. I was the woman who had seen the truth. And once seen, it could never be unseen. The confrontation didn't end with screams, it ended with silence. The kind of silence louder than any fight. He sat back down, head in his hands, while I walked out of the kitchen. My hands were still trembling, but inside, something had shifted. I wasn't the one hiding anymore. He was. He stayed in the kitchen for what felt like hours, his head in his hands, his breathing uneven. I could hear every inhale, every exhale. I thought he might stay silent forever, but finally his voice broke through the air. "You don't understand," he said again, softer this time. "It wasn't supposed to be like this." I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, waiting. I didn't speak. I wanted him to reveal himself without me feeding him words. She doesn't mean what you think," he stammered. "It was a mistake. Just dinners, conversations. Nothing serious," I almost laughed. "Nothing serious." That woman's hand in his, her laughter, the perfume on his shirt, none of that was nothing. "You've been gone half the nights this month," I said coldly. "You lied about the office. You lied about everything. Tell me, what part of this isn't serious?" He rubbed his face, stood up, paced again. His movements were restless, twitchy. "I was lonely," he said at last, the words tumbling out. "You stopped looking at me the way you used to. I felt invisible." The audacity of it hit me like a slap. He was the one sneaking around, yet he turned the blame on me. "Don't you dare put this on me," I snapped. My voice was sharp now, stronger than I'd expected. "You had a choice. You could have talked to me. Instead, you chose her." He flinched at that. His mouth opened, closed. He was searching for another excuse, another lifeline to cling to. "I still love you," he said finally, almost pleading. "She doesn't mean anything. You're my wife. You're my home. Then why her?" I shot back. "Why the lies? Why the perfume? The notes? The dinners?" He looked cornered again, sweat shining on his forehead. His voice cracked. "Because she made me feel alive. Because when I was with her, I forgot about everything else." The room went quiet after that. He had said too much, more than he intended. And in that silence, I realized something important. The man in front of me wasn't just my husband. He was a stranger who had betrayed me, and no excuse could undo that. I straightened my back. "You broke us," I said firmly, "and no matter what words you throw at me now, you can't fix it." His eyes widened, desperate now. "Don't leave. Please, I'll stop. I'll never see her again." I shook my head slowly. "You already saw her. You already let her in, and in doing so, you let me go." The words hung in the air like a verdict. His shoulders slumped, his excuses spent. He had nothing left to say that could erase the image burned into my memory, him with her, laughing like I hadn't seen him laugh in years. For the first time in a long time, I felt clarity. Painful, yes, but sharp. The kind of clarity that leads to decisions you can't turn back from. And I knew the decision was coming. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to his breathing beside me. Every inhale, every exhale reminded me of what I had seen, what I had heard. His words, "She made me feel alive," played over and over in my head like a broken record. By morning, I had already made my decision. I just needed to say it out loud. He stumbled into the kitchen, his shirt wrinkled, his hair messy, his eyes bloodshot. He looked like a man who had lost everything, but he still didn't understand that it was his own hand that had pulled it apart. We sat across from each other in silence. The air between us was heavy, thick with all the words we hadn't said. Finally, I broke it. "I'm leaving," I said. My voice was steady, clear. His head snapped up, panic flashing across his face. "No, you can't. Please, we can fix this. I'll change. I'll prove it to you." I shook my head. "You already had your chance. You chose her instead of me. And even if you never see her again, the trust is gone. Once it's broken, it doesn't come back. He reached across the table, desperate, grabbing for my hand. I pulled it away. The touch that once felt like safety now felt like chains. Think about the years, he pleaded. The memories. The family we built. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. The sound sharp. Final. Those memories are already tainted. You poisoned them the moment you walked into her arms. His face crumbled. For a second, I almost felt pity, but pity is not the same as love, and pity is not enough to stay. I walked to the bedroom, pulled out the suitcase I had packed in the quiet hours of the night. Clothes, photos, a few things that were still mine. He followed me, begging, his words tumbling out fast, incoherent, like he could glue the pieces back together with desperation alone. But I kept packing, one shirt, then another. Each fold felt like another layer of him I was leaving behind. When I zipped the suitcase shut, he stopped speaking. His silence was louder than his begging. I carried the bag to the door. My hand rested on the knob for a moment. I turned back, looked at him one last time. His face was pale, broken, but I felt nothing but distance. You had me, I said quietly, and you lost me. That's all there is to it. Then I opened the door and stepped into the light of the morning. The air felt sharp, fresh, alive. For the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't know what waited for me outside that house. Loneliness, maybe. Struggle, certainly. But it didn't matter. What mattered was that I was no longer sharing my life with a lie. And as I walked down the street, suitcase in hand, one truth burned inside me. Betrayal might break a marriage, but it doesn't have to break you.